My name is Asasha McCreath. I'm here from Toronto, QP Local 79 from Recreation. I'm here to speak about the waitlist issue we've been happening. And I've been in programs from now about 4 years old. Like my mother had this process of having to wake up 2 hours early and commute all the way to the location to register me for these programs. Because back then they never had the privilege of having online and computers. So they had to either go in person or call on the phone. But even back then, there was a little issue with the wait list because if you call on the phone, the luck of you getting through is like 0 to none. So your best luck for all of this is to go in person. So every time she would go, let's say for summer camps, because I was young, it would take 2 hours to get there. So she'd leave an extra 3 hours early. But no matter what, if she leaves early, she'd always be guaranteed to get into the program. So from I was 4 years old, I've been in summer camp programs, I've been into preschool programs. I basically grew up in recreation, and I love the experience there. You're able to learn fine motor skills, you're able to learn communication skills, all the stuff you cannot learn at home or just at school. So as the years went by, I was able to volunteer, got to meet all the staff and faculties in the location, and then I started to get employed when I was about 16. So then I was able to give back to the community and like work in the program. But then as the years went by, I had parents come up to me about issues they're experiencing getting into the programs. For example, I teach a dance programs that happen throughout the week. The wait list used to be about 10 people, so the parents wouldn't really argue, but as that list grew, parents would come to me and be like, my program, my child has been registered in this program for about a year, and all of a sudden I'm getting there early in the morning, I'm calling early in the morning, and once I used to get through and now it's not possible. They've been calling and coming in, and no matter what we do to accommodate them, it wouldn't be enough for some of the parents. Especially for summer camp, I see that problem as well because I had a parent come up to me with 2 children. She had 2 daughters, one with an accommodation and then one child who didn't. So she's like, she used to come in all the time and try to register her child for the programs and got in because she's not able to do as much because one child has the disability. So they're not able to go past their beyonds to try and register her in other programs and like be able to engage with other children. But for this summer camp, she was able to, but unfortunately, she couldn't get in. And she would come in early, she'd talk to the CRP, she would call an extra 3-4 hours early, she'd go all the way to the location by like 3 a.m. in the morning just to have her child into these programs that she can able to talk, grow with other kids, engage with other kids, and nothing would happen. She would come play and write letters and nothing would happen. So that's the issue I want to see improved on because children who want to get in these programs are able to learn more, accommodate more, able to engage more, and unfortunately it's not happening. As well as summer camp programs I did teach, we have a cooking problem that we would cook about every other week. The children are able to learn how to make a meal, they're able to learn how to use the stove, they're able to use a knife, which is great skills for children now. But lately we've been having a program they registered in, which is pretty good to get some free supplies so we can cut back and able to save more on that location. But one day we got only yogurt for that problem. And then we told the kids, we had it on our program plan, we're gonna make tacos that day. You know, we get a few vegetables, a few food, the class of 10 can eat. And then we came in that morning and only got yogurt, and then I had to tell the kids, oh, sorry, we can't make tacos today, we only have yogurt. So parents would come back, be like, we had this on the program plan, we had this registered, why is our child not getting that? So that was the issue that we also had there, and I just think the city needs to do more to accommodate for all the children. Toronto is growing, the kids are growing, everything is doubling, we have higher demands, and I feel like the demands are not being met. Especially that I grew up in rec, I know how it's like to get in and not get into programs. And to see that parents are doing above and beyond and still can't have that ability to get in and engage with all the programs is really a shock to me because I never seen that as much in the past. As well as dance programs I'll teach. Some programs and location can get an extra staff, which is great, so the list can get cut. But then other locations, for example, I teach at Bank, they don't have the resources or the extra money in the budget to bring in another staff. So then you have wait lists growing 20, 30, 40, 50, and nowhere to accommodate these children. So I feel like we should really invest into this and invest into it fast because it is growing. It is multiplying. We don't have the resources to accommodate for all these children who are missing out on all these skills that they can't just get at home. And as well as the safety issue I feel like they're having because parents do work. Parents have to come back at say 6, 5 o'clock, school's done at 3:30. There's no way for them to come home and pick up their 8, 9, 10-year-old child from school. So if they get into program, let's say after school's at 4.
You're just a little after 5 minutes if you could wrap up.
I'll wrap it up quickly. Just like it's a safety issue because kids have nowhere to go after school, parents are working. So if we're able to have the programs they can get into, they can be safe and supervised for that time for parents.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Any questions for the deputant? I just have one. We have a plan, a strategy developed by staff in front of us. I don't know whether you've had a chance to read it. It's in our agenda. Do you think this will get us there?
I think it's the start, but I feel like the faster we can put it into agreements, the faster we can approve all of this. So the faster the better, I believe, with this.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions for the deputant? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Maguire?
Good morning. Tim
Thank you for
Maguire,
coming.
President of QP Local 79, representing the frontline workers in recreation and other areas of the city, of course. So the report before you shows that wait lists for recreation programs have grown by 74% over the last 3 years to 198,236. A previous staff report states that if nothing is done, the wait list will grow to 400,000 by 2025. Local 79 is relieved on behalf of frontline workers and residents to see that the report recommends adding 60,000 new spaces and programs over the next 3 years in existing facilities. However, only 10,000 spaces are recommended for 2018. The proposed growth plan is very helpful to stop the stemming further waitlist growth, yet expansion efforts are focused on primary programming, largely introductory classes. Our concern is that this could inadvertently come at the detriment of locally customized programming geared towards equity-seeking communities and vulnerable populations. We have 3 recommendations for the committee and council to consider, and you'll see the rest of this in our briefing note that we put together. 1, that staff be directed to report back through the 2018 budget process on the maximum number of program spaces that can be created in existing facilities in 2018 and the associated costs with a breakdown of types of programs. 2, that staff be directed to report back on measures taken to ensure that the growth plan does not result in reduction in locally customized programs for serving equity-seeking communities and vulnerable populations. And 3, that staff be directed to continue monitoring and report on overall waitlist size as a part of performance indicators in the growth plan. Second one again. Okay. So you'll also notice in our briefing note a chart that shows the rapidly increasing number of recreation visits and flatlining of staff. This can be demonstrated by wait lists that have grown by 74%, as I said, and can be expected to grow to 400,000. The quality of recreational programming is therefore at risk. Consider the fact that although use of recreation facilities have grown by 17% since 2012, staffing has flatlined. And just one more point, you can read the rest. Since last June, the CRC reviewed findings of the Newcomer Youth Recreation Forum, which concluded that the city should improve access to recreation for this population through more responsive programming. So again, the wait lists and the lack of progress or speed of progress in putting in programs puts locally designed programs at risk. One other thing I wanted to mention is the Frontline interviewed in the forum also lamented that the division is often canceling programs with low attendance, early cancellation of programs before the date of the program, et cetera, and we think that also endangers program. And finally, anecdotally, you can read the briefing note, as I said. Anecdotally, I was in McGregor Community Center on the weekend, and there was violence training happening for young staff. It's very important to understand that recreation program is about life skills. It's about sports skills, leadership skills, team building skills, all those kinds of things that people take back into their everyday lives and as one gets older and contributes back to the economy and communities. But it's also about violence prevention. We teach young kids not only to have fun, teach other kids, be leaders in teaching kids to have fun and life skills, we also teach them that it's important to have recreation programs to prevent violence. We've had members that have been shot at. We've had members that have moved from communities that they lived in and contributed in because of violence and the gun. It's important to recognize, as I said, it's about life skills, training, but it's also about anti-violence to make sure that our kids are safe, our communities are safe, and not attracted to gangs and gun.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions for the deputant? Councillor Wong-Tam?
Yes, thank you. With respect to the breakdown of program categories according to the waitlist, some of it is very much facilities-oriented, just not having enough physical space to accommodate. And then there are other programs that are very instructional that could probably take place in sort of general open spaces or spaces that are not so infrastructure reliant. Is there a way to prioritize how do we break down the waitlist for CUPE?
I think there is, and I think it's about physical space, but it's also about level of staffing. You need a level of staffing to have programs. And as we noted, our members are saying that programs are often cut short. And yes, it's about jobs and hours for young workers that are providing programming to the city's youth, but it's also about having those workers in place to provide the programs. And yes, you could probably break it down in which ones are directly tied to a center and which ones are more about having the sufficient staffing.
Because I think in the facilities master plan the City Council had just approved, it will take a very long time for us to actually physically build out enough facilities to accommodate new additional recreational programs. And if we were to somehow tier it or at least break it down into two steps as opposed to one monolithic movement to build facilities and then the staff up, it seems to me it would take a long time. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that kind of diving down into it would be helpful because, and actually what we're indicating is looking in the 2018 budget about what programming could be added to existing facilities. And
just my final question through you, Mr. Chair, to our deputant, can you be more specific about your concerns about how the growth plan may not adequately address equity-seeking groups?
Well, I think the role of city staff, both management and some of our members, is to reach out to communities and design programming that suits communities. I think it's important to have that work continue, going out, reaching out into communities. I think the city, we've said this for years, the city could do a lot better job in marketing its programs that can be offered and further outreach, continue the outreach, deepen the outreach into communities and see what programs could be designed for different newcomer communities, for vulnerable populations, as I said earlier. Often this program is about ensuring that kids stay in recreation programs rather than be attracted by gangs. So go out and do the community outreach in various communities and make sure the program can suit those communities. If it's just, I wouldn't want to say superficial, but if it's only primary programming and it's at the expense of more in-depth community-oriented programming, what the community wants, and that's the work of city staff, there's a risk there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wong-Tam. Any other questions for the deputant? No? Okay, thank you very much.
For your time.
Thank you.